Thank you so much, Yuri, for accepting this invitation. I don't know if you know this. I think I mentioned when I first invited you, but during the first season, I had a suggestion box where people could type who they would like to see in the show, and you were by far the most suggested. So people really want to know more about you.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and this is why I'm here to
Uh,
talk about me. And thank you for having me here.
so if you watched my show before, I always start by asking where do the screen name comes from. You actually use yours, Yuri, but where did svid underscore VP come from?
Okay, so the origin of this nickname is it was back when I was in third grade, when I was messing around with the computers, and I saw this phrase "svid" in one of the BIOSes that I saw, and it was quite catchy. Although the meaning of this is totally way different from virtual photography, and the VP is just stands for virtual photography.
Oh,
So
that
yeah,
that's really that's interesting. That's a new one. I don't think I've ever had someone um, saying that their name is part of a bio in the computer. How did
yeah,
you
it's unusual.
how did you come by virtual photography?
Well, I started in 2013 when Bioshock Infinite came. The rich color environment and the atmosphere of the game really caught my eye, and I was thinking, well, I was in the real life photography for a couple of years, so I decided, wait, if we can take pictures in real life, so it means that we can do it in video games too. So I started to take a few snaps to see what other people do, and ever since I'm here.
So you are actually the second person that to come on the show and say that they started with Bioshock Infinite. So that's curious.
Well,
Uh,
I'm not so surprised because the game is really good. I mean, really,
Especially for a 2013 game, it
yeah.
looks and it aged super
For
well.
for the time being, yeah, it was one of the most visually aesthetic and pleasing games that I played, and even that Metro Last Light came in the same year. Yeah, I think Bioshock Infinite made a bigger presence within the virtual photography community, even with the drawbacks that 2013 integrated photo mode was not available yet on games on both consoles and PCs. So we had to, at least on the PC side of the game, we had to rely on mods and third party options. Like to remove the HUD
Yeah.
and
Huh.
that type of things. Well,
And
luckily today, game developers are making our lives a lot more easier.
I I talked with can't remember if it was the fourth focus or another person, but I talk about how to take photos of shooters, first person shooters on console. What people would do is switch the gun really fast and disable the mod. So if you switch the gun, the you can see the hands, and they will take the photo right at the moment that the character is changing. So yeah, I admire everyone that started like back then when mods and photo modes weren't that available. You
It
mentioned
was
that
quite a
you,
challenge. It was
yeah,
quite a challenge back then, but it's not impossible.
yeah. You mentioned that you were a photographer in real life before. How does that translate to your work?
Well, I was a wedding photographer for a couple of years, and I was an amateur photographer that just spend the weekends going outside and taking snapshots of urban photography, landscape photography, and I just implement what I learned about the composition, about how the lights can affect the image, uh, small objects that other people might see that they are not really interesting, but in into a proper composition, it can make a big difference. So I just implement what I learned over the years into my virtual photography, and so far I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, and it's going really well because I really like your style, and I can see like the wedding photography inspiration in your Aloy shots, especially.
My Aloy portraits, actually, the
Yeah,
lights, it's really inspired by my wedding photography that I used to do.
I can
So
see that now. Yeah, that's really curious. So you started with virtual photography in Bioshock, but how did you come across like the whole community of virtual photography?
actually, I started to post online only in 2019 because I had a few tragic events down the road, especially because people tend to insult me because of where I live. So I was a little bit afraid to go online to share my work. But a few friends convinced me in 2019 to just ignore the people that hate you and post it. So I decided to take their advice into an account, and I started to post. Well, on Twitter, I started in 2020, and on Instagram, which is I started in 2019. So you can say that I started in 2019, and so far I'm pretty happy and proud to be a part of this amazing virtual photography community, especially on Twitter. Because
Yeah,
in the one thing I don't like about Instagram is too much platform limitations, but on Twitter it's much more free. And recently they even removed the crop for vertical shots, so it's a big plus, especially
and
for us that we share vertical snaps. It's a big
yeah,
bonus.
I'm looking at your first picture on Instagram, and it is 2019 and
Yeah.
Alo shot with very nice, a very nice shadow work. So I wasn't planning to question you about this, but you just touched this topic that I can't ignore about Instagram and Twitter. Another thing that I think I dabble with this a bit at the start when I jumped into Instagram. I did the opposite, so I started on Twitter and then jumped into Instagram. Something that I don't necessarily like is the partner system that the community started at. I think it closes your photos to a specific group of people, and that's not what I see the virtual photography scene to evolve. We can't like put ourselves in even smaller boxes.
I pretty much agree with you on that one. Recently I actually ditched that partners program because, to be honest, I feel it's like just promoting each other's work like robots. Because I noticed, I won't mention any names, but I had a few partners that just automatically shared my stuff on their stories like robots, and I was like feeling, well, I think that system is not really created to, for example, get in touch in a better way with each other, but more like a free promotion. I don't really like it, so I decided to ditch it.
The expression you just said, that's how I felt. I felt that I was the robot. I was the one that was sharing my partner's work without even like really looking and appreciating their shots. It was they
That's the
were part
problem
of,
with that.
yeah, they were part of my partner, so I would simply click on share and that's it. Like, share, give a comment. I wouldn't be really appreciating their art. But yeah,
That is the
I'm
problem with that system. Once you partner up with someone, in many ways you just ignore the quality of the work and you feel obliged like to comment even if you like it or not, and automatically share it on Instagram.
yeah,
This is not how the way I see the virtual photography. I mean, if you really like it, then share it, because doing it like a robot, like you have some sort of an obligation, I don't think it's a good idea.
yeah, and it's nice that both of us are talking from experience, that like we both tried this system and we both saw the flaws. If it works for people, I'm glad. Keep doing it. For us, at least, it didn't. You when you first started with Horizon Zero Dawn, you didn't start with PC, right? You started with console first.
Actually, my Horizon Zero Dawn story is kind of funny. I remember when the game was out in 2017, I didn't own the PS4, the PS4 Pro. So I was like, okay, so it's another console game, not a big deal. But I remember in July 2017, the same year, a friend called me to come to play some Horizon Zero Dawn in his house. He was like, Yuri, you have to play this game. I know you don't like consoles and playing with a controller, but you must see it and play it. I was like, okay, so I have a day off from work. Okay, I'll see you. What's all the fuss about this game? 10 minutes after I played it, I went to the electronic store near his house. We like to the mall. I bought the PS4 Pro and the collector's edition of Horizon Zero Dawn, the last one in our entire country. And I logged around 700 hours on the PS4
Ooh.
with over 1,800 screenshots, and I logged almost 500 hours on the PC version with another 3,000 shots, and it's still counting, and I have no intentions of stopping it. And if the PS5 stock will be in a better shape, so I hope to continue this experience, the Forbidden West.
Whoa! I was going to ask if you play the game just to take photos, or you take photos and then leave. But with that many hours, you are playing the game. That's
I think
impressive.
if I could earn a multiple platinums on the PS4, I think I did like 16 of them already in Horizon Zero Dawn. And it
That's
took me 4 days. It took me 4 days since the game was out on PC to earn all of its achievements on Steam.
you have even more hours than I have on God of War. Like that's something. Like that's a big. Well, why Horizon? Why does that game have such a special meaning for you?
To be honest, I have no idea. But the well, I'll try to explain it. But even I, after 4 years of playing it, I can't explain people why I love it. Wait a mostly the world itself, of course, it's rich. I mean, it's gorgeous. Gorilla did amazing job on the world environment. The photo mod itself is good, but it's not one of the reasons. But just a moment, please.
No, don't worry.
But mostly, Aloy itself as a character really caught my eye and attention of her quest of I mean, it's really hard for me to make a proper explanation why I love this game, but the main, two main reasons are the world itself, the landscapes, which are gorgeous, and of course Aloy.
I had this talk recently with Lady Snapshot. about Aloy. That I wasn't a big fan of Aloy because to me she was a bit bland as a main character, and Lady Snapshot gave me the perfect argument and completely shifted my mind that she goes from an outcast to a hero. That journey, that
Born as
entire
an
journey.
outcast and born as an outcast, and then she was worshipped by the Nora tribe when they found out she's the creation of their goddess All Mother.
Yeah,
But Aloy doesn't really want the Nora.
yeah.
This is when she said, "First you shun me, now this. I am I am not your anointed." It means that Aloy had some sort of a hate against the Nora tribe that cast her away since she was a child because she was motherless. I hope I don't spoil anyone's story by
Oh, I
telling it.
don't. I think that everyone that watches this is probably very familiar with your work and the game, so don't worry about it.
I'm okay. So and after that she was like she discovered that she was born to stop a curse, and really the Nora looked at her like she was the messiah, the savior of the Nora tribe, and she didn't like it much. So yes, her story is truly both interesting and fascinating.
Yeah, and
Started as an outcast when everyone shunned her, even when Bast threw a stone at her, and after that she confronted with him. With she did it in a clever way, though. I
yeah,
really like it, and of course, sometimes Aloy have some. Well, I don't know how to explain it, but she's one
I
of the two reasons that I still shoot in Horizon Zero Dawn.
yeah, and I replayed since having that conversation. I replayed Horizon and completely changed. Like she's a really layered character. She's not as bland as I first thought she was. And yeah, I'm planning on replaying the game again. And
Well, you should.
yeah, it's so recently they said that the sequel is still slated for 2021. So yeah, this is the perfect time to replay and get ready for the sequel. But you don't just photograph Horizon Zero Dawn. You photograph your main focus. You're kind of like me. Your main focus is one game, but you still photograph others and you still play other games. But
Yes.
other than Horizon Zero Dawn, what game would you say that you had the most fun taking photos of?
Well, I'm a huge fan of the Metro series from 2033 to Last Light and Exodus. I'm a really big fan of Metro. So this is probably after Horizon Zero Dawn my most favorite game. Well, because the Metro series take place in Moscow, my birth city. So
Hmm.
one fun thing after playing the Metro Exodus, I had a flight to Moscow, and when I was on the metro there, I had a flashbacks of the game. Like this, this is the Spartan stations. It was kind of awkward, but fun.
I,
But
I I
yeah,
had I had that same experience with GTA 5 and Los Angeles. So I was like going around, and this is where
where
that
is
mission takes
Trevor?
place. Yeah,
Where is
right.
Trevor? Where is
Trevor.
Franklin? Yeah,
Uh, I
totally.
would prefer to meet Franklin than Trevor. Trevor would
Uh,
likely be a really experience.
not in the best mood to talk to you.
Yeah. So, what's your process? So, do you start the game only to take photos? Do you plan your photos? Or as you are playing, do you, oh, this is cool, I will take a shot of this?
With portraits, it's a pretty straight deal. To to me, if I decided to make a portrait, so I have my own spots and techniques already. So I'm just thinking on a way to make it look something refreshing, because taking the same type of portraits all the time can be boring. So I'm always trying make uh, to make it look more refreshing. But mostly it's just like I'm playing, and when I encounter a nice spot, I'm thinking maybe I can do something out of it, some cool landscape or action shot. So most of the time I just improvise if I see any good scene. And not just in Horizon, I'm talking about Metro, A Plague Tale, Chernobylite, um, Tomb Raider,
Fun.
and many others.
I looking at your photos, they are so unique that I thought for sure that you would like plan them like ahead, like do a little plan, and then
Well,
oh this
most
spot
of
and
most of most of the time, I do think if I can come up with a new idea, for example, because I know the entire, for example, in Horizon Zero Dawn, I know the entire map already. I mean, where to take the landscapes, the shadow portraits. So I'm always thinking maybe I can get something refreshing out of these areas instead of my usual snaps. And recently, I started to take landscape shots of the Aloy on the mount, and with paint style photos. So it looks like a concept art, but it's actually a screenshot in game.
yeah,
So
I remember one of your shots. Can't remember when, if this was recently or a while back, but you did it on the must be a mode or reshade that puts everything, at least Aloy, in the kind of borderlines style, like cell shaded style. And
with the 3D effect, like she was
yeah,
popping out of the frame.
yeah, that
I
shot.
actually made a bit. Yeah, it's I used the reshade and tools by Franz Boma.
Yeah,
I actually made a video about it, how to make it. Actually, it's reshade. Yes, it's unfortunately it's only possible on the PC version. And the blur effect that I did with shifting colors, it's not Photoshop or something like that. I did it with reshade in game. I did a videos about it. I might do another one explaining this style. I mean, how to properly do it with the color change. Uh, at first, when I saw someone else doing this style, I thought, "Oh my God, it's so hard to do it." But when you get the idea of how it works, it's pretty easy.
I'm planning into at some point build my own gaming PC, so I would appreciate those videos so that I can go back and watch them once I have my gaming PC.
You got it.
It's a terrible time to build a PC in 2021, so yeah.
It's a terrible time to build anything. I mean, the
Yeah.
shortages. I mean, I used to work as a importer of communication stuff, because due to COVID-19, last year I lost my job as an engineer. So I
Oh,
worked as an importer, and yeah, the shipping costs from China and from all over the world is like jumped in 300 to 400% by sea. Not to mention air shipment. So yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty tough time. I hope that we will see a change, because it's also affecting in some way the virtual photography community, the shortages of the new RTX cards, the PlayStation 5 shortages. It's all affects
Yeah,
everyone.
I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that uh, some big names of the virtual photography scene like stopped as soon as the PS5 came out because they couldn't get the PS5, and they are still on break because they really want to photograph on the PS5 instead of the PS4. And I feel that with the PC, I would have already built mine if prices weren't this crazy and the shortage of graphic cards and things like that wasn't as big.
There is a stock on the market both for the PS5 and the cards, but the problem is their prices is like hundreds of
Yeah,
percents above the manufacturers and about the MSRP. So the prices are crazy. I mean, in my country, the PS5 digital edition, even though the prices in Israel are rough, it was around $500 before the shortages. Now it's around $1,600
ooh,
for the digital edition for the PS5. I mean, the price. I mean, I know that we have a pretty expensive country, but there is a limit of what I can spend. I mean,
yeah.
from 500 to increase it to 1,600. Sorry, it's too much.
To everyone watching, they might be curious because since you are playing on PC it's different from console on the side of graphics, mods, everything else. So when you are taking pictures, what's your equipment like? What are the sorry if this is a weird question, but the specs on your PC to get the ones that the shots that you have, what are you working with?
I'm working with the Core i9 10850K, which is overclocked to 5.2 gigahertz on all cores. I'm using RTX 2080 Ti, which is also overclocked because I can't get any of the new cards at all. 32 gigs of RAM, it's more than enough even for the high enthusiast virtual photographers. And pretty much that's it. But I want to say something to all of the console virtual photographers that say that PC have an advantage. I mean, in some way we do have an advantage, but most importantly, the photographer itself, it matters. You don't need to own a high-end PC to make stunning shots. I have a lot of examples of people that playing with the PS4 Slim and create gorgeous shots in Horizon Zero Dawn. So don't you dare to give up because of that. You don't need the most sophisticated and the most high-tech equipment to make stunning shots. What's more importantly is you.
Yeah, all the
Sorry,
shots
this
that
is
I
something I had to say for
and I
people
agree.
that think.
All of my shots until the PS5 release were on the base PS4, so the one that released in 2013, and the ones that I'm sharing right now off Horizon are still from the PS4. So yeah, I completely agree. When people come to me and say stuff like, "I wish I had a PS5 so I can get those shots." It's the same as going to a traditional photographer and asking them, "What camera are you using?" Yeah, the camera is a tool, but what you're seeing the shot, the reason why you're liking the shot is the composition, are the colors and things like that, things that you can
Couldn't say
get.
it any better. Couldn't say it any better. The tools is just the tools. What really matters is the photographer itself. I just want to say a rough example. I I made some shots with my phone. I mean, and people thought I made it with the full frame DSLR. When I told them it's my One Plus, they was like,
Yeah,
"What? Are you
yeah.
serious right now?" I was like, "Yeah, because what matters is you. The camera is just a tool. If you don't know how to use it properly, then
and
pretty much
and and people could I'm a very plug and play kind of person. So what I like about the photo modes in on console is that they are limited. So I can't, like, for instance, I started Mortal Shell recently, and Mortal Shell, from what he managed to understand, is the closest to the PC tools that you have on PC. And I felt lost. I felt like I have so many options that I don't know what to do with all of this. And I feel like some people might feel overwhelmed by making the jump to PC or by having more tools. Like I have no idea how to use Reshade. I have no idea if that's in game, if that's not in, if that's
It's
an
in
external
game.
tool.
It's
So,
an external tool that you install and you use it within the game itself,
oh,
and you can see everything in real time. I mean, you don't have any delay. You can even use reshade while you play. Even
that's cool. I always
it's a very
thought that.
powerful tool.
Yeah, I always, and even friends tools, I always thought that you had to somehow run them out of the game. I don't, I know very little about PC gaming in general. I have been playing PlayStation since the PlayStation 1, and the only game that I played on PC was League of Legends for like 7 years. So you can imagine that my PC gaming isn't knowledge isn't that much. So, uh, what would you say is the biggest difference from photographing on console and PC? Since you have that experience with both.
Well, the of course the virtual photography on PC is much easier, and you have more options. Like for example, I'll give the best example from Horizon Zero Dawn on my PS4 Pro and PC. On PC, I can like control the weather, the fog, the haze, the wetness, the wind speed, the wind direction. I can control the game speed even to make like a slow motion. I can control the depth of field. I can use face paints without beating on New Game Plus Ultra Hard. But I didn't use that feature, so I can make like in between poses of Aloy in the photo mode. I can hot sample like to make the shot in a to render it in a high resolution. All of these stuff are great on PC, but still, I'm going back to my previous statement. You don't need to have a PC to make a great shots. But in terms of helping you, yes, a lot of the tricks that I did on the PS4, like my winged shots of the Aloy with the Stormbird be behind, and the one like she's catching the bomb, like it looks like a magnetic levitation of the ball. Of course, on PC it's easier because I can make the game run slower and freeze it and skip a frame to make the perfect shot, but it still doesn't mean you can't do it on consoles. Yes, it will take you a little bit longer, but still, it doesn't mean it's impossible.
Those shots are on console. I thought for sure that they were on
My
PC.
wing shot, my all the wing shots, I did it on the PS4.
Whoa, that's
Yeah,
impressive. That's really impressive.
it
So,
took me a while, but yeah, it's possible.
whoa. So, last question before we have to leave. What would you say it's the importance of virtual photography in the gaming landscape nowadays?
Well, it's a big the virtual photography in games. It's really like its own social media within the social media. The impact on games, it came to a point when game developers really making a dedicated thing for virtual photography in their games, and they really invest in their games with photo mod tools. I think one of the first games that I've seen with a dedicated photo mod, well, of course, actually it was Horizon on PS4 Pro, because other games I had to rely on tools, which but to see something from the game developer itself, means that it taking a very good turn in terms of being a real deal. Like I remember I remember a couple of years ago when it was a pretty much unknown area, but today it's a total different world.
I really liked that expression when you started, that you said that it's a little something like it's a little social media inside the social media, because that's exactly how I feel. Like there is something beautiful in going on Twitter and seeing everything in general, and then there is that small corner of Twitter, of Instagram, dedicated only to
Virtual
in-game
photography.
photo. Yeah, it's really great. So those were all my questions. Yuri, where can people find you?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. This is the two main social media platform that I use these days. So yeah,
I will
hope to
leave
see
the
you.
links. I will leave the links for your social media in the description below. You can find me everywhere at .pon, and I will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.